News dump. No time to waste, Mac. So much news.
That's what she said. No time.
No time, Mac. Actors are now joining writers in a strike. Nothing's going on in Hollywood.
Yep. If you are unaware of what's going on, the two unions have joined forces and are refusing to work until they have better pay, better health care, a whole list of things. I have mixed feelings on this because what it really took was the actors to team up with the writers, because the actors, no one gives two shits about them getting better pay, but it's the writers who traditionally get fucked.
So no, but it isn't the big name actors. It's the people that are in the background. It's the middling people. It's not just like, people aren't crying about Matt Damon not getting enough pay. It's the other. And also the big one that pops out is the use of AI. What I heard is that studios want to scan faces and then use those faces in more projects without paying people?
They want to pay a one-time thing and then be able to perpetually use the AI generated.
Yeah, which then gets rid of background actors.
Yep. So that is just absolute horse shit. I'm also a union guy through and through here. I'm a part of the world's largest labor union.
Asshole union.
It's one of those things too. And unions sometimes is what makes you decide on your political ideology. But there was this thing called the Great Depression goo once upon a time that in large part, I mean, the World War II helped, but in large part, the reason why we were able to establish a middle class and get out of the Great Depression was because of the introduction of labor unions. And so I always believe in what labor unions stand for and the core of their, like the core values, essentially. So I'm always going to side with the labor unions in general. I mean, of course, there are some valid points to be made on both sides, but they're only asking, I believe, for a 2% raise. And just like cost of living these days is about a 2% raise. So there's simple things that at this point, and Sean Gunn actually gave an impassioned interview the other day and brought up some great points. And one of the main ones he talks about is that 50 years ago, the studio executives, the studio heads made more than the lowest paid guy, but it was like 20 times more. Now they're making like 400 times more of the lowest guy. So the pay gap there is just insane. And so when you have these greedy studio heads, nickel and diming people, waitresses and waiters, you're like, all right, you can stand to not make, you can make one less million a year. So it's just really hard to side with the executives here.
And then some movies that have been put on hold right now. We have Deadpool 3.
Yeah, and that's the alternative here, separate from the actual ins and outs of the dispute. If you remember, you go back to 2007, the writer's strike demolished television. Movies didn't feel the effect as much, but it ruined a lot of television shows right smack dab in the middle of things. And now here is a bit more this is more twofold. So you have the writers and the actors striking, and we could see some massive ramifications from this. And as you said, Deadpool's already been pushed off. A lot of shows are going to start.
Yeah, you cut me off. I was going to say Mission Impossible 8 as well.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about that because that's obviously a second part of a movie that's already been written. But so movies, I feel this less because it's most of these movie scripts, if they're not already written, are still just the same story. The problem with the shows is continuity, right? And then smack dab in the middle of a season, if you've only got half a season written, you're like, oh, this is going to feel weird. So it really affects television shows more so than movies.
News dump. Back, we got the Emmy nominations, and I didn't write any of them down because what are you going to do? But HBO. Lots of HBO.
Yeah, it should just be called the HBO Awards. And
the HBOEs.
You know what? We totally agree because we talk about it all the time. When HBO puts their best foot forward, it's the best product in the field by a mile. It's always the top dog. We're always looking for the next best HBO show, right? When one ends, we're like fiending for another one.
Yep.
So that makes sense. But more importantly,
Tim Robinson.
Yes, Tim Robinson, near and dear to our heart. Finally,
also, his picture for the nominees is him going like this.
Yeah. He got nominated for Best Actor in whatever they classify. I Think You Should Leave as, and I think You Should Leave might have
Short
been
form
nominated
sketch
as
show.
well. Yeah, so
Yeah.
whatever fucking category it's in. But it's good to see that it's finally getting some critic recognition.
Yes. News dump. Weekend box office, Mac, and Mission Impossible did come in a tick under what they were expecting. They thought 60 million. It made 56. That's not terrible. 80 million over its 5-day release because it came out on Tuesday night, which surprised us, and 235 global.
Yeah. 5660, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. That's all the same. It's hitting its marks. It's exceeding what probably anyone thought for Rotten Tomatoes type scores, all those types of scores. It's going to be interesting to see what the drop is here in week 2 with Barbie and Oppenheimer.
I don't think it's going to be that much of a drop off, though.
I think because of the scores we've been seeing, everyone's talking about it, everyone's enjoying it. So it'll be very interesting to see what those numbers look like a week from now with all 3 in the theater.
I think my biggest curiosity is between last week and this upcoming week is it how much are people still waiting for these movies to be released on their home devices as opposed to going to the movies? Like, because of the fact that you're able to either VOD a movie or see it within like a month or 2 anyways, there isn't a huge rush to get to the theater for most people still. So I want to see with these 3 movies, possibly the 3 biggest movies of the year, how does this month kind of find its way?
Yeah, to your point too, and this is why you were betting the over on Barbie. Barbie of the 3 movies will be least affected by a home viewing. The other 2 are massive action blockbusters.
Yes.
So they should be viewed in a theater. Barbie, I don't think is going to change the viewing. So that's why I think if someone's thinking that way, they're going to lean and go see the other 2 in the theaters if they can only see 2 of the 3.
Because I feel like that is something that hurt The Flash was people saying, I'll just watch it in a month or 2. I'm not that interested. I have some interest, but I'm not that interested. Much like Indiana Jones did cross 300 million worldwide, but it is still in the red because it was made for like 325, and it's going to be one of Disney's biggest flops of all time.
Yeah, you saw it. I think if you had to pay money to see it, though, you probably wouldn't have gone, right?
No, I think that is the perfect movie of I'll see it when it's free.
Yeah, it's just hard. It's hard to sell people on that movie when 15 years ago a bad
Simmons is old.
A bad sequel came out 15 years ago, and then also Harrison Ford at 80 years old is really hard to believe he's doing anything in that movie.
Which, I mean, credit to people that, thought this as well, is like Keaton in his 70s is also kind of hard to sell a movie around.
Is Keaton in his 70s now?
Is he in his 70s or is he still
I would
60s?
guess like 60.
Okay, so still an older guy, though.
Sure, yeah.
News dump. Too many trailers. They all came out within like 2 or 3 days of each other, right?
Yeah, massive run of trailers here in this last week.
Yeah, so Trailer Park, Mac. Let's start off with the Blue Beetle. The movie is coming out on the 18th of August. And I'll tell you this much. I will give any amount of money if Wonder Woman shows up.
This movie
hey, I'm in this too, guys.
This movie looks...
Because she's trapped in a WB green screen prison.
This looks simultaneously kind of fun and simultaneously kind of awful. And I don't know how anyone, after having seen The Flash with the hype that DC put behind that and Warner Brothers put behind that, I don't know how anyone can be optimistic going into Blue Beetle.
You and I like The Flash more than most, but I would say that based off what we've gotten this year and what is also coming out this year, DC should have scrapped all these movies.
See, but they've already scrapped enough projects in the last couple of years.
You can also get taxes back. Just keep on scrapping movies.
Blue Beetle.
Okay, so actually, we have something here, and we'll talk about it in a second too. But DC could have made more money if they just put The Flash on HBO Max as opposed to putting it in theaters.
Maybe they could have spent less on marketing. If that was
that's
the case.
What it is. Yes.
But I don't know. That movie was just destined to be not even disliked, just a total meh for most people.
Yes.
I just don't know. And it's also confused for you and I, who sit down every week and talk about movies and movie news and love shared universes. we can't figure out if Blue Beetle actually means anything or not.
Because they keep on saying that it is the first of James Gunn's movies, but it does not have to do with his continuity canon. So what is this?
Right. So I guess to your point, why release it? And then again, we're gonna have Aquaman coming up too, and it's just confused. If it's confusing
Aquaman
for us,
might be the least anticipated movie I have ever gone into.
Oh, for sure. But my point is, if it's confusing for us,
yes,
people, two folks that have a movie podcast, it's got to be incredibly confusing for the casual fan. And the casual fan is how you make money on these fucking movies.
Yeah.
So if you're confusing your audience, they're just not going to go see it.
Yeah. But there was a line in this trailer where the host said, or the Scarab said, the host is overreacting. And all I could think of was you.
No.
Because you're a host who overreacts to things.
Wrong. I've said it once. I've said it 1,000 times. 90% of things are fine. The upper 5% I love. The lower 5% I fucking hate. And I will argue to the ends of the earth that. You got to be passionate about something, Gil.
No, you don't. News dump. Got a sweet trailer for Ahsoka.
Pants Tent City with this one, Goo. This is coming out August 23rd on Disney Plus. It's going to be 8 episodes. I think it's going to be a quote unquote miniseries, so just one season. Although that remains to be seen. If they absolutely crush it and knock it out of the park, I could see them coming up with more seasons of this storyline, or maybe they'll call it Rebels, 2.0 sort of thing. I have been so excited. Now, Ahsoka was introduced in the Clone Wars animated series, and I would say outside of the original cast of characters that was introduced in the original trilogy, she is easily the best character that Star Wars has ever given us. Obviously, she's Dave Filoni's sort of, I don't know what word, pet project, I guess, for lack of
baby of the year.
Yeah. So I'll give Filoni credit for that. And I'm hoping that he's been saving all the good stuff for this show because he hasn't shown it in any of the other shows. But the storyline that Rebels finishes on, especially its last 2 seasons with Admiral Thrawn and Ahsoka and that whole crew sort of trying to stop Thrawn and Ezra and whatnot, is getting picked back up in this series. And I'm very excited for that. And Thrawn is one of those villains. I know you haven't watched the animated. I still say you should at least watch Rebels before the show comes out. Thrawn is one of those villains who's scary and menacing, not because he's super powerful, because he outsmarts everyone. And so it doesn't matter how powerful you are. It's sort of a Lex Luthor type situation.
It could be in the Scuba Squad.
So I'm very interested to see what happens here. And obviously Ahsoka is just a super cool character in general.
News dump. And a trailer for Napoleon. This is a Ridley Scott joint. And let me ask you this. Is he due?
I don't know. Yes. And so the answer is both yes and no, right? And also starring Russell Crowe, comes out November 22nd. So he's due.
No,
because
it stars Raphael Bottom. Joaquin.
Joaquin Phoenix, not Russell Crowe. Sorry. He's due because he hasn't had anything I've liked in maybe 15 or 20 years. But also, when directors lose it, they just lose it. They never get back.
Well, that's because you like your cell phone too much. No, you like reading Twitter. You like short blurbs. You don't have an attention span anymore.
They become out of touch with what the audience wants, and they let their own personal bias get in the way. And that's just kind of the truth about every director ever.
Does this movie look too sexy?
I don't think it looks too sexy.
There's a lot of sexy stuff going on here.
So, well, I mean, it's late 1700s France. What are you going to do?
That's a good point. Lots of sexy stuff.
One of the best papers I ever wrote in my whole life was my junior year at college, sophomore or junior year at college, about the French Revolution, and obviously that has a massive Napoleon element to it. So I'm actually pretty interested in this movie. I know no one else
it looks
is.
great, and I mean, like the scale of this movie is perfect for a Scott.
Yeah,
but I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is such a good actor. Is he too tall?
No, so that's a common misconception. Napoleon was actually like
that's
5'7".
why you're here. That's why you're here.
Napoleon was actually like 5'6" or 5'7". I think it just became a thing that he probably hated getting called short, so then it turned into, Napoleon was 4'10".
Well, do you think that they meant to say that his cock was short?
Maybe that's it.
Like, do you small think dick most energy of this movie has to do with little micro pee-pee?
He's got a baby dick, so he's got to take over the country.
Who has the baby dick now? News dump. Back. We got a trailer that really swept the internet, and I did not like. I thought it looked like caca.
So I just
Wonka, by the way, Wonka.
It took me a couple days to finally watch this trailer just for whatever reason. And I thought it was gonna like the end of the trailer was gonna culminate or something, or they were gonna show a big awesome moment in the middle of the trailer. And after this 3-minute trailer, I said, this movie looks fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Really, really bad.
I think the big issue here, and the reason why they'll never be able to replicate the first one, is no one is ever going to have the same energy or mystique or feel that Gene Wilder had. And you just can't go back to this character.
I agree with you. The Gene Wilder element is the reason why you should never make another Wonka movie. But
yeah,
at least it looks like this is a different take on the character, which you kind of have to go with.
I mean, you know, Johnny Depp's was also a different take, but playing him as Michael Jackson wasn't the way to go.
This is just a weird mishmash of a movie. It's a musical. Timmy Chalamet is like, he's got this boyish charm in the role that I guess it makes sense for a candy maker to have.
But I think it lacks charm, though. I don't think it has that charm.
Yeah, you might be right. It just looks really bad.
He stole the outfit from Gonzo the Great in A Muppet Christmas Carol. It is, if you put him side by side, the exact same outfit to a T.
No, I know, but the Gonzo outfit is not too far off from the Gene Wilder in the first place, so it's stealing from stealing. This comes out December 15th, and when we get to December 14th, I want to take a poll of everyone on the internet and see who's actually going to go and pay money for this movie. Because I think it might be zero. I think it might be no people.
News dump. Trailer for Harley Quinn season 4, which is coming out this month, correct?
Yeah, July 27th, end of the month. I can't say I'm looking forward to this, but I'm going to watch it.
One of my favorite animated adult shows right now. I even had it. So, little heads up, guys. We'll be doing something with Dork coming up, and I might have had it on one of my favorite shows lists.
I enjoy the show. I don't love the show.
Well, I do. I love it.
Credit to you, I guess.
News dump. A Twisted Metal trailer, Mac.
Yeah, also coming out July 27th. This one on the cock. This stars Papa Doc as one of the Twisted Metal characters. I forget which character.
His real name is Clarence. And his parents have a real good marriage.
Samoa Joe is playing Sweet Tooth, just the body. Will Arnett is voicing Sweet Tooth. I hope they get crazy with this series because I don't think anyone knows there's any lore behind the Twisted Metal characters, so they could sort of do whatever the fuck they want. Being that it's on the cock, I don't think the production quality is going to be great, but we'll see. We'll see how this turns out.
News dump. What a 2.5-minute clip for the upcoming TMNT Mutant Mayhem movie, and I loved it.
I mean, the closer we get to this movie, the more I'm looking forward to it. I'm a little worried that your expectation is gonna be 50 hot dogs, and it's gonna fall short of that.
There is definitely a possibility of that, and I am getting used to the voices more and more as they interact with each other, because this 2.5 minutes does a great job of showing off the chemistry, the quick talking brotherhood between the four of them, ribbing jibs, pop culture.
Jib ribbon.
Yes, jib ribbon. Pop culture references, and they, modernize it. I love Leo saying that he'd love to have a champagne breakfast with Tom Brady. Like, that's pretty good stuff.
You a big jib jab guy?
I'm a big jib jab guy. I love those elf videos. But this is because everyone always said about the Bay movies that came out almost 10 years ago now. Mm-hmm. There was that one elevator scene that everyone's like, okay, this feels like Turtles. This 2.5 minutes here, a lot of the trailer stuff, it feels like Turtles.
I think the further away we get from the original material, and even like the original movies didn't quite capture the teenage element well, this feels like it's going to do the best at capturing the teenage element, yes, which has me a little excited about it.
I also love how when they get to the top of that building, they have the white eyes, and it's like the original comics.
Right.
Great stuff.
Yeah, in on that.
We are less than 2 weeks away, I think, or right around 2 weeks away.
Is it the end of July this comes out?
No, it's the middle. So it's like August 2nd. We're close.
Yeah. All right. Yep.
So
2.5 weeks.
40 hot dogs. 40 hot dogs. News dump. Superman Legacy casting news, Mac.
Yep. So obviously we got a couple weeks ago David Cornsweet as Superman, and then what's her face there? as Rachel Brosnahan as Lois
Brosnahan.
Lane. In the couple weeks since, we have now found out that Nathan Fillion, of course, one of James Gunn's favorites, is playing Guy Gardner, who is a Green Lantern.
Nice.
I don't know anything about this character, but we checked in with the hashtag comic book boys. What's the name of their TLDR?
TLDR.
Essentially, they said that Guy Gardner is just like a piece of shit. He's a prick. No one likes him, and he's not really good at being Green Lantern. So I think Fillion is a good selection for that type of character. We also found out that Isabella Merced is playing Hawk Girl. If you don't know who she is, she was the live action Dora. So she brings that to the universe.
Yeah, that Dora movie looked like a pornography, right? Like the trailers looked like a
pornography level
one of those
production.
Not Dora the Explorer.
Yeah, like the colors
colon
like a little
triple X.
Too bright. The background didn't quite match with the outfits.
Yeah.
And then Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. You would know him as Darwin from X-Men First Class, and I think
he was pretty good in that. Okay, yeah.
I don't know a fucking thing about Mr. Terrific. He debuted in the comics in '97. Apparently, he's a genius, great engineer. He possesses invisibility, and he uses these like floating robotic spheres that follow him around called T-spheres, and those have all sorts of functions. So we'll see how that translates to live action. And then the one I'm most excited about here, because I'm all in on this actor, Anthony Carrigan, who played NoHo Hank in Barry. He got cast as Metamorpho. I don't know a thing about that character, but I am just all in on NoHo Hank doing everything.
And of course, this is Carrigan's second turn as a DC character. He played Victor Zsasz in Gotham.
Yep. And from when I sent out that tweet, it seemed like it was 50-50 on people that really liked his version of that character.
He was fine.
Okay.
The look of a lot of the Gotham villains, because it was kind of dirty looking because they didn't have the production value. If you look at a lot of them, I like the look because it doesn't look as like touched up. Like I really liked how the Scarecrow looked, but then if you watch the episode, you're like, this isn't great. Or what's his name with the pig mask? I'm blanking right now. But
I forget that. Mr. Pig? Isn't that just Dr. Pig or something?
Yeah. But yeah, that also looked really cool. So credit to them.
Is there anyone that liked Gotham, or was everyone just put up with Gotham?
I watched one season, I put up with it, and then I said, I cannot do this anymore. But then I would always stop back in whenever I heard a certain villain would be popping up, and I would look at the villain and be like, that looks cool. And then I'd say, this storyline sucks.
It was a writing issue.
News dump. The Flash is coming to VOD. As we already said, it is a huge flop at the box office. Let's see how it does on home release. But what are you going to do?
I want everyone to sit down and really just clear their minds for a second. The Flash, billed as from several, I dare say many folks, as one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, ended up making less money at the box office than Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern.
Yes, that is it. And what hurts the most is that maybe our favorite comic book movie director, James Gunn, said that it was amazing, said that it might be one of the best of all time, which really puts a dent in how we feel about his opinion.
We got. Yeah. And this is a catastrophe for Warner Brothers and DC, because I'm willing to bet that they started greenlighting a lot of stuff Gunn wanted to do, and Gunn is separate from this whole thing based off the fact that the early returns on the Flash were, this is great, this is so good. And now sitting back here, probably having lost 200 million or 100 million, whatever they've lost, they're probably, and this is a little bit of James Gunn's fault, they're probably rethinking a little bit of what James Gunn's planning to do.
This movie is also the headliner of the new nickname for movies. Have you heard of this, Mac? Flopbusters.
Flopbusters.
So blockbusters that flop.
Okay.
There's been many of those this year. There's been a lot this year.
I don't mind that. And you got a note here, Gutsu, that I'm going to read for the folks.
Yeah, go ahead. What is it?
The executives at Warner Brothers hadn't been this hopeful for a DC release since The Dark Knight.
Yes.
Since The Dark Knight. And then it made less than Green Lantern.
So two things here. Number one, it would have been funny if after the opening weekend when it, bombed, if James Gunn tweeted out, this wasn't the movie I saw.
Just go full villain on it.
Yeah, I didn't see this cut of the movie.
I didn't show Tom Cruise this cut of the movie.
And then also, and we don't have it in the rundown, but Christopher Nolan was doing an interview and someone asked him, would you ever do another superhero movie again? And without any hesitation, no.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I don't blame him, especially
But
now.
when asked if he would do a Star Wars movie, he's a little more into it, but he's afraid of ruining the property.
Well, property's already been ruined, so he can do that. The difference between the two, I think, is we're all looking, most of us are looking for a Star Wars savior, right? Whereas
you think Christopher Nolan's the Star Wars savior?
I don't know.
First off, that would be an amazing movie. It would be fucking amazing.
No doubt. We've already touched the sun with comic book movies.
Yeah.
In part because of Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
I don't have Dark Knight as high as most, but that was the gold standard for a long time and still is to many.
Yes.
I don't think we've gotten, I mean, obviously you have the original 3 Star Wars movies, but there's no modern gold standard for Star Wars. So that bar is still yet to be set. Therefore, maybe it could be a Nolan thing. Who knows?
News down. Back, the legendary Star-Lord. We have a little tease for that.
Yeah, speaking of James Gunn, and this is a lot of the press with DC and coming out of the end of James Gunn's career at Marvel, him and Chris Pratt apparently have talked about a legendary Star-Lord movie.
Which is what we have talked about, I believe, during the Guardians 3 podcast of I would love a Disney Plus show that is just Star-Lord on Earth.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if they actually do this. And that's what he said.
He goes to Whole Foods.
Gunn said, Chris and I forever have talked about how great it would be to be able to do a legendary Star-Lord movie, a story with Star-Lord on Earth trying to adapt to the environment on Earth.
Yes, exactly.
I just don't know how much run you could get out of it. It's
8
hard,
episodes.
It's really hard to believe that fish out of water thing.
8 episodes. News down. I know we already talked about Deadpool earlier, but it looks like Jennifer Gardner will be back for this movie.
I'm really holding out hope, and this is pretty much what I said 2 weeks ago, as we get more and more casting news about Deadpool 3. I'm really holding out hope that this is the multiverse crossover that we've been promised time and time again. And I feel like, and there apparently, you know, of course, I'm ignorant to the comics, you as well. There is a awesome comic book story out there called Deadpool Kills the Multiverse, something like that. And it seems like that's probably where they're going with this movie. So I'm very intrigued for them to bring back all sorts of Marvel past.
At the end of Deadpool 2, he decides to go back in time. So you can really
time traveling machine.
You can use the TVA.
Yep.
You can have people mad at him there. You can have Loki pop up there. So there's a lot of different possibilities here.
A lot of possibilities.
But also with this strike and the writers, you know, take your time. I understand that you want to get back to finish it, but, you know, let's make sure that it's great.
Get it right. Just
get it right. News dump. Speaking of Marvel and shows and movies, Disney's like, hey, we don't want to spend this much money on Marvel anymore. Bob Iger says they'll be reducing spending on reducing spending and creation for new MCU and Star Wars properties. That's via CNBC. And he wants to cut down on the shows and the movies.
I think there are definitely people that agree with Bob Iger.
Yeah.
And we agree to a certain extent too. It has been watered down, but I also feel like the vetting process has changed. It's been watered down, not because of the quantity, it's because of the quality.
Yes, the quality of the quantity. Yes.
Maybe your argument is because of the quantity, the quality goes down, but I don't think that's the case. I think there's dozens, hundreds of super talented writers and creators out there that are fans of these properties. You just got to find the right ones and trust the right ones. So I almost feel like Bob Iger's in sort of a Michael Scott situation here. He's just rambling on about stuff. He doesn't actually know what he's talking about.
I would like 2 and 2. I would like 2 movies and 2 shows. And I'd like them to put a little more effort into them, a little more quality CGI wise. And then I want them to feel like events again. They feel kind of episodic now, where it's like, okay, we saw this one, let's get on to the next one. I want to be able to hang on these movies a little bit longer.
So don't you think the answer is the opposite of what Iger is producing? Putting more money, maybe cutting back on the amount, but putting more money in.
Yeah,
and
putting
so that
no.
so that
Well,
the
so you can,
shows feel movie level quality.
but you can put some money that, say, if you're spreading it out over 7
You're
projects, if
talking
you're
about some
taking that same
reallocation,
amount of money into 4
but
projects.
that's not what he's saying. He's saying cutting back on both.
Yes, but, cutting back on both will still, so say if you're spending whatever amount, if you're cutting back a little, but then you're putting it into 4 properties, you're still putting more money into those 4 as opposed
I
to.
agree with what you're saying. I
Yeah.
don't think that's what Bob Iger's saying.
Who are you, Bob Iger?
I think he's looking at it as like, okay, hey, we're spending X amount per show. I think he wants to cut back on that and the amount of shows.
Oh, by the way, I'm 3 episodes into Secret Invasion.
Mhm.
It's interesting.
It's interesting. The
Yeah.
ghosts.
Is it great? I don't know about that. It's
The
interesting,
acting
though.
is. Will you admit the
Most
acting's
of
been
the
very
acting.
good?
I am confused by Don Cheadle right now.
Okay, well, there's some answers to some Don Cheadle stuff coming
Okay.
up. The episodes are getting shorter, so episode 5 is out this week.
It's like
Next
a pyramid. Just
Next week is the finale.
Okay.
I hope this pays off well. I am intrigued as to where it's going.
I
But
really like Samuel L. Jackson in this. I'll tell
Samuel
you
L.
that.
Jackson's been
He's great in this.
The main villain, Gravik, has been great. And Amelia Clark as Gaia has been great as well.
I will say this, though. Super Skrulls?
Mhm. Fair enough.
Yeah,
It's apparently a popular story from the comic books. I don't know enough about it, though.
News dump. Sequels to Alita Battle Angel are in the works.
Yeah, James Cameron announced this is a James Cameron problem, no doubt about it. This man just likes planning sequels for movies that came out. He doesn't want to plan sequel. He doesn't want to work on sequel. He wants to work on multiple sequels at once. The first time I ever remember hearing about this was the Matrix movies. They made Revolutions and what was the other one at the same time? That didn't work at all. So I don't know why anyone would be trying to replicate that project. James Cameron is already doing that with the Avatar movies. And once again, even though it made $1 gazillion, I still know no one that went and saw the second Avatar movie.
I know he wants to do 4 Titanic movies, right?
I just want James Cameron to focus on one sequel and one good story at a time.
Look, Cameron is in his 70s, question mark?
I don't know.
You got to get them all in now.
Do you think he'll be directing a live action adaptation of that colossal failure of that Titanic submarine thing? Ocean Gate, is that the name of it?
So I think that he'll do something. I think he'll do like a special on it or something.
The Discovery Channel type of thing.
News dump. Mac, Barney has hair.
Little hairs. This is the most confusing news of the week. Mattel is developing a Barney film, and we mean film.
Film, yes, film.
Starring Daniel Kaluuya starring Daniel Kaluuya, and this is an adult-oriented and adult-focused A24 type of film. Film, not movie, film.
Yes. So my question is it about the life of the person who is in the Barney suit? Because
the life of the Death to Smoochie?
I was like, Death to Smoochie. We've already seen this.
Oh boy, I didn't
Mac
consider
just
that.
smacked his microphone. He's that upset.
That's so. If they do a Barney film based on the guy in the suit, I don't even know how to think about that.
I don't know what this is gonna be.
Cloth is fur.
Cloth is fur.
Cloth is hairs.
News dump. RDJ, that's Robert Downey Jr., said that The Shaggy Dog and Dolittle are 2 of the most important movies that he's ever made.
What a wild quote, but after I thought about it for a couple minutes.
Completely true.
It's 1,000% true. He said The Shaggy Dog was the film that got Disney saying they would insure him, aka he could be hired for the Marvel projects and they'd be okay with it. And then Dolittle, which came out right after Endgame, I believe, was a 2-year wound of squandered opportunity. So he went from not being able to make any movies, Disney bought in, and then he thought he could make any movie and it would be a success. And then Dolittle came up. So what he's saying is so true. The lessons he learned and the opportunities that have happened because of those 2 movies, he's 1,000% on the nose with it.
He also said that Oppenheimer is the best movie he's ever been in.
Oppenheimer, the last couple of weeks, is getting an odd push from a lot of folks basically saying that
I think it's because they are up against Barbie. I think
maybe,
it is. Yeah.
Maybe. They're essentially saying this is it. This is the one.
Yeah.
All of Christopher Nolan's prior works have built to this. And I also read, and this I actually do think is true, this is going to be his most accessible film.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things about Christopher Nolan films is the amount of confusion and your confusion level during them. And it seems like there's not, that factor doesn't exist in this movie. So we'll see.
News down. Got some images for Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I'm intrigued by this.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Mr. and Mrs. Smith. When did that come out? 2004, 2005.
Mm-hmm.
The Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie action flick. They're adapting it into a series on Netflix, starring Donald Glover as the Mr. and Maya Eskrin as the Mrs.
Mm-hmm.
So this is intriguing at the very least.
Absolutely. News dump. Got a poster for My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3.
I don't know if anyone else has seen this. I was shooketh after staring at this poster. Do yourselves a favor, hop on Twitter, hop on the internet, look up My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 poster. This is the worst movie poster I've ever seen in my whole entire life. There's 10 characters maybe on this poster. And by the way, they got a lot of the original cast to return, which is very impressive. Every single character, every single person on this poster is photoshopped and clearly photoshopped. This looks fake. It looks bad. It's horrible.
Yeah, I would recommend that if you want to watch a follow-up to the original My Big Fat Greek Wedding, there was a CBS show that came out that ran, half a season. Let's say
really,
watch that.
Really capitalized on the hype.
Yeah. News down. Finally, Mac, this week, Barbie and Oppenheimer hit theaters on Thursday night. When asked which movie he'll be seeing first, Tom Cruise said Oppenheimer on Friday, Barbie on Saturday. Really excited for both, though.
As are we. We're both excited for these. And unfortunately, we have explained this the last couple of weeks. Due to our schedules and due to the bullshit fucking screener dates for these two movies, neither of us will be seeing both movies prior to release. I will be seeing Oppenheimer. Goo will be seeing Barbie. So in lieu of that, and in lieu of our schedules, by the end of the week, by opening night, we'll have an episode for you, sort of teasing both movies. Maybe that'll help you decide which one to see first. I think we're both. I mean, at this point, I'm getting confused because I was more excited for Barbie, but because of the late push for Oppenheimer, I think I'm a tad more excited for Oppenheimer.
Can we actually call the podcast Barbenheimer and we'll go sentence for sentence and fill in what happens?
Like
in
a Mad Lib.
Yeah, pretty much.
So again, if you're looking for some early reactions, we'll have that for you, but individually. It'll be in the same episode. We'll be talking to each other. Goo will have an instant reaction to Barbie. I'll have an instant reaction to Oppenheimer, and hopefully that helps you decide what to see.
All right, so that'll do it for this news dump. Check us out at the end of the week for that. Now it's time for girls jumping on trampoline.